Boy.
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 Boy. Yeah. Boy.
Buoy. Buoy.
Boy. Floating apparatus in the middle of the sea. Boy. Welcome to the Buckhorn Podcast. I'm Martelle, and with me always is Randy. What up, Randy?
Oh, my favorite part of your intro is that quiet pause for like 5 seconds you give, where you just freeze with a weird smile on your face, and then you go into it. It is phenomenal. It's a great day.
It is.
We've been having fun.
It has. We've learned a lot in the last hour and a half.
Guys, we actually
did some research.
It's not really
Holy
a scripted
shit.
show, but we researched a topic we were both interested in.
Right.
I am super pumped because we've talked for a while about getting more focused on topics that just intrigue us. And it could be anything, but right now we were talking about like serial killers and murderers and gangsters and true crime stuff.
And storming Area 51.
Right. All that stuff fascinates me. Flat Earth, like the conspiracy theories fascinate me. Even though I know they're dumb, I will spend hours researching 9/11 and Flat Earth and all that.
You said Flat Earth. Have you seen the Triangle Conspiracy? The Triangle Earth Conspiracy?
Triangle Earth?
Yeah.
So it's flat and a triangle?
No,
instead
it's
of
just
round?
It's a pyramid.
Oh, a pyramid Earth.
Pyramid shaped.
I think I saw something about it briefly.
Right. It's stupid.
Maybe
It's
we'll do an
a
episode on the
comedian.
shape of Earth.
It's a comedian making fun of Flat Earth.
Oh, okay.
It's funny.
No, I have. I'll have to watch that. But
It's
yeah,
good.
no, I'm super pumped for this episode.
I am excited for this episode because this one has kind of a family tie for me.
Yes, we
So-
touched on it briefly before.
And we did. So this one we're going to go and we're going to talk about American gangster Pretty Boy Floyd, Charles Arthur Floyd,
Yes.
who was born in Georgia and died in Ohio.
Yep.
So,
Born in 1904.
right.
Now, here's what fascinates me. When I read about gangsters, criminals, psychopaths from the past, I always see it in a very historical light. It's kind of like when we were in school and we talked about the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
Woodstock, World War II, all these, even the Civil War. I think like we get so disconnected, like, man, that was so long ago. Like we can't even fathom.
You can't think about how long ago that was.
But the reality is he's born in 1904. My great grandfather, who lived to be 103, that I knew very well in my adult life, was born in 1910.
That wasn't that
Only
long ago.
6 years later than Pretty Boy, and he lived till 2013 and had all kinds of stories.
Right.
So my great grandfather, who I knew for a big majority of my life thus far, was alive the same time Pretty Boy was doing all his crap.
Right. So he
So
could have told
it
you.
blows my mind.
He could have told you all the stories about Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yeah, I mean, how'd they met?
Right.
Pretty Boy was in Ohio, but my granddad was in southern Ohio.
And
And he was from Illinois.
my great-grandfather, who lived in Wellsville, outside of East Liverpool, where Pretty Boy Floyd was killed, was actually friends with Pretty Boy Floyd, from what I've been told.
Right.
I cannot verify that because my great-grandfather, Miller, has since deceased 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So I
But that's
cannot
a story that was
verify
passed
that.
down.
But it's a story that I've been told. So they used to play poker together in the basement of my grandfather's house.
That's freaking awesome.
So,
But it's just
which
it
is-
just brings that much closer though, don't it? That you go,
Right.
That's not that long ago this stuff happened.
No, and it's relative. I mean, it's not that long ago, really, that the dinosaurs were walking around. When you think about it,
Yeah, but we're only a couple generations.
but we're
removed
only
from this.
we're a generation away from this. Two
Like, you think of
generations
the Civil
away.
War, you're like, dude, they didn't have running water, they didn't have electricity. It's a totally different time.
Well,
Well, all this
even-
stuff in history, but really, it wasn't that. You're only a few generations removed from people
Right.
that lived through that.
Well, and we're sitting here watching some of the documentaries on Pretty Boy Floyd, and you're like, I can't believe the cities were even big then.
Yeah, it's like it was showing pictures of the cities in the early 1900s, and it just looks much bigger than you would
imagine.
assume. Yeah,
Or assume.
things were like then. And I visited New York in 2002. January 2002, we set up a trip. Before 9/11 happened, we set up the trip. 9/11 happened. We still went out in January 2002. And we saw Ground Zero, we saw Broadway, we went to Times Square, just all the sights, just to take it in. And we went to Grand Central Station. And when we came out of the tunnel or whatever at Grand Central Station,
it was packed.
Dude, it actually wasn't really packed, but I mean, it was busy. But the thing was the architecture and the size of it blew my mind. And then I had to realize that that building is so old that it far transcends my life, my parents' life. You know, like it was built way back in the day. I don't know the exact date, but it's hard to imagine a lot of these cities were being built during this very time. Right. This is when things were really starting to grow.
The late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yeah, so anyway.
So let's get into Charles Arthur Floyd, who was born February 3rd, 1904 in Ayersdale Field, Georgia. Is that right? Does that sound right?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Ayersdale Field, Georgia. So he was born in Georgia.
Adairsville.
Someone will correct me. I'm not worried about it. Someone will correct me. He's born in 1904 in Georgia. So he grew up on a farm, as most people would in the early 1900s.
Yeah,
you were growing up on a farm
in the city. The vast majority of America was still. Well, like I said, my granddad was born in 1910. I don't think they had indoor plumbing until the 50s.
Right.
So well, and they were real rural.
Like thinking about my great grandmother, her name was Oma, which in German means grandmother. So her name was grandmother Oma. My great grandmother Oma. She grew up in the early 1900s and out in Wellsville, or not Wellsville, in West Virginia on a farm, and
that's what you did. That's how you had to survive.
That's how you. Yeah, I mean that's what you did.
You know, you grew food, raised animals, and you sold some of that in order to pay for the few provisions you needed: shotgun shells, clothes. I mean, my granddad always told me he had basically, for the longest time growing up, he had 2 sets of clothes.
Right.
He had church clothes,
and you had work
then the clothes he wore for everything else.
For everything,
right? That's it.
That's it. You had
very meager for a lot of people back then.
And you traded for, if you didn't do fruit, you would trade meat for fruit. So sheep for fruit, cow for fruit. There's bartering, there's stuff going on. But Floyd didn't feel that way. He didn't want to pick cotton. That was what his family did. They picked cotton.
Had a cotton farm.
They had a cotton farm. He didn't want to pick cotton.
Right.
So at the age of 10, his first official crime was stealing cookies from a local store.
Right. Were they giving out free samples?
This isn't Whole Foods.
Did he walk into a Costco and get free samples? Because if so, that is not stealing.
It wouldn't be.
Even if you eat all of them.
But
he just stole some cookies because, let's be honest, 10-year-old kid wanted cookies. I remember being probably 12 or 13. We were at City Center Mall in downtown Columbus.
Which doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't. We used to go there after church. Our parents would take us and basically drop us off. Now, I was always with older cousins. I was the youngest of our group of 5 or 6 people at like 13. And there was one time that the first time I ever shoplifted, actually I think the only time I've ever shoplifted, was a keychain squishy eyeball thing from a toy store.
Really?
That I was like playing with in the store and I liked it, so I just put it in my pocket. And the whole rest of the day, I thought everybody was like on me, like I was
looking at you,
terrified. Yeah, it's like 12 or 13, and I was just like, I'm going to jail for the rest of my life.
See, I can remember the first time I shoplifted, and I took a shitload of candy. It wasn't just like I stuck a candy bar in my pocket. I took like 4 or 5 candy bars, a bunch of those little like chocolate covered dots that come in packets. I had like stuffed my pockets with like cigarettes.
We love
like
cargo shorts.
Yeah, like I had stuffed like my pockets
90s,
of like
Old Navy.
chocolate covered cigarettes. I had like Nella wafers, and then I walked up to the counter and bought a pepperoni roll.
Ooh.
And that was the only thing I bought, and they were 99 cents. I walked out of there with probably easily $10 worth of candy in my pockets.
Which
under my
back
shirt
then was a lot.
Was a ton.
You used to be able to buy candy bars for 50 cents all day.
Right.
Like the big ones.
49 cents.
Yeah.
So I walked out with a lot of food, like a lot of candy. I mean, it was a heist.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a theft. It was a heist.
That was some Ocean's 11 crap.
I mean, it was
You had
it was a
team of
lot
people.
of stuff, and I haven't told anybody about that since.
I just stole a keychain.
Yeah, you stole a keychain. I stole
I did
a lot.
One time I started smoking at 11-ish. Really about 13, 14, I started smoking heavier. I'm glad I've kicked that habit. But I was 14 or 15. My older buddy Tom, well, I don't want to give away his identity, but we'll call him Tom because that's his name. He was a couple years older than me, and he had like full facial hair by like 14 or 15. So at this point, he's probably 15, 16. And we were somewhere on the west side. We ate lunch. Mom and Dad went somewhere else. They were like, we'll pick you up at this store at this time, whatever. Well, we walked in the store, and this is back when cigarettes were just like out in an aisle.
Yeah, you just walk up, grab what you want.
So I told Tom, I was like, hey, snag us some cigarettes.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I don't want to. And I talked him like kind of into it, and he did. And then we went to walk out the door, and a guy came up in plain clothes and said, hey, I need you to come with me. And they took Tom behind a door with like, like you could tell it's like one of those secure doors with no window, and I was just left standing there.
Like, where'd you go, Tom?
I walk outside for a while, and I'm trying to figure out what to do. There's no cell phones then. I'm freaking out. And Mom and Dad are driving around the lot. I hid behind a food truck for a minute, and I finally went out because like they were.
It wasn't a food truck.
It was a food truck.
It was the gravy train, or whatever the name they had for it at that point.
Whatever. Roach Coach.
Roach Coach.
But yeah, and they finally found me. Went in. Dad talked to the guy. Said Tom's with us. He spent the day with us. Blah blah. And Tom went and told his parents what he did and all that. And
Tom's a horrible person.
I'm a horrible person for.
No, Tom's the worst because he told his parents.
Well, he had to.
No.
My parents knew what he did.
Lie.
There's no way you can lie to him. My parents and his parents are best friends.
I don't care.
That's the dumbest thing you could have done.
Hashtag Shaggy, I didn't do it.
I cannot wait for your daughters to pull that on you and you try to say that's valid.
I didn't do it. It wasn't
Lexi,
me.
Harley, your dad said that you're allowed to lie to him.
Wasn't me. I'm not saying you can do it, girls, but
anyway,
wasn't me.
I shoplifted a keychain thing, as I recall, a little squishy eyeball. I don't even remember what it was. I wonder if I still have it hidden somewhere in Mom's basement.
That'd be great.
If I can find it.
Well,
City Center's gone, so.
City Center's gone. So let's jump to 1922.
All right.
Where he commits his first crime.
His first real crime.
His first real crime where he
literally
knocks up a post office. Knocks off a post office.
Okay.
So he robs a post office for $350 in pennies.
So he was 16 at the time.
Yeah.
1904, 1922?
Yeah, so 1922. 18? He was born 1904.
That'd be 18.
He'd be 18.
Numbers. All right, so he's an adult now.
So he's an adult. So.
And he robbed
the post office. So he's 18.
Right. He robbed the post office. Now this wasn't a hold up.
No, this was
when they were closed.
It was a B&E. It was breaking and entering.
Okay, so they're closed. He breaks in with some buddies.
They robbed the post office. This is a federal crime at this point. So the feds show up. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And they start looking around.
Wait, how many pennies did he steal? Because this fascinated me.
Well, what I said was $350.
$350 worth of pennies.
So that's...
And there's 100 pennies in the dollar.
Who you're gonna make me do math? So 350. What divided by 350? No, no.
We can't numbers at all.
We can't numbers.
So all you gotta do is move the decimal.
Times.
No, not 350 times 350. There's
Why wouldn't
100. 100 to the dollar, $350.
Well, whatever.
How do you have such a great career in IT?
35,000 pennies.
But that's my point. How did they haul out? You literally move the decimal 2 places.
That's a lot of pennies.
That's how you math.
So how much?
So how did they haul out 35,000? Are you gonna say how much that weighs?
Yep.
Google it.
So
you're talking satchels of pennies. I don't know what they were stored in. I don't know why the bank or the post office. In our research, we saw that they said it was used for change, which back then I'm sure stamps were cheaper and pennies were far more plentiful and worth more than they are now. I mean, but 100 pennies weighs 250 grams. That's a little over half a pound.
So, yeah.
For 100 pennies. We're talking 35,000 pennies.
So 250 grams, 8.8 ounces, a little over half a pound. So that's 350 divided by half. 35,000 divided by half.
Yeah, 35,000 divided by. You're talking a lot of pennies.
That's a lot of
And I got to imagine whatever they were driving was way down.
That's 17,500 pounds.
There's no way, man.
Is that right?
How did you steal 35,000 pennies?
That ain't right. That number can't be right.
No. 17,000's got to be too high.
That's too high. I'm an idiot.
Just Google how much does 35,000 pennies weigh.
Yeah, we'll do that
Google
instead.
Do it for us.
So
you've had too many narcotics in Rome. You've had too many rum.
I've had too many rums. How much does 35,000 pennies weigh? God, this is so much. This is great.
Well, there's 30,000. Close enough. Click on that.
That's close, yeah. So 220 pounds?
Yeah, about that.
Exactly.
35,000 would be roughly 200 pounds.
So 200 pounds of pennies. I can deadlift that.
So you got, I guess a strapping 18-year-old farm boy.
He could move those. And it's not all at once.
Yeah.
So.
But him and somebody could get that.
Yeah. That's easy.
But my other thing is,
I'm still an idiot.
Hide and store. Like, you can't just go using 35,000 pennies.
No, and that's still a lot of money.
And back then. Yeah.
I mean, $350 is a lot of money back then. So, and then on top of that, not only is he robbing post offices, he's also bootlegging moonshine.
At the same time?
Well, just after the fact. I mean, when we watched the documentary, he knocked off a post office.
Right.
So they found that out. They came looking for him. They couldn't prove. I don't know that they could prove or not that he had robbed the post office, but he was, because moonshine's illegal in Oklahoma, where he was living at the time.
Whoa.
Well, alcohol.
$350 in 1922 is equivalent to $5,082.75 today.
Holy cow.
That's more than I thought.
That's a lot.
At first I was like, $350. It's probably,
You think about that, and you're like, $350, no big deal. $5,000? That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And back then when they were, you're talking Great Depression.
All right.
People did not have money, which is what drove him to
Well,
steal.
that's and we'll get into that later on in the show about what they call him.
Right.
What they refer to him as. But this is still in his earlier life. He's 18 at this point. He's robbing the post. He has robbed the post office. So he's running moonshine. He does a couple moonshine runs. He knows how to make moonshine. He's from the country. It's one of those things he knows how to do. His next big hit was 3 years later, in 1925.
Okay. My granddad was 15 at the time.
There you go. So he robs the payroll cart for Kroger. We all know who Kroger is. Kroger's the grocery store that we go.
We shop there.
We shop there
On a very regular basis.
The payroll cart for Kroger. He robs the payroll cart, and he makes the mistake of going back home. So it doesn't disclose how much he robbed.
Okay, why was it a mistake to go back home?
Because he robbed. People know who he is. The law know who he is. I mean, he's at this point he's 18. He's already robbed. Already robbed the post office.
They're suspicious of him.
They're suspicious of him.
Okay, gotcha.
He goes back, but one of the mistakes he made is he always goes back home when he robs something.
I mean, where else are you going to go? Motel 6?
He could have gone. He could have gone to a hideout. He could have gone anywhere.
Well, apparently, he didn't have one.
He didn't have one. He goes home. He gets caught. He gets pulled over on his way home. They find rolls of dollar bills wrapped in Kroger whatever.
Right.
Whatever it is. So he gets caught.
They find the money.
They find the money.
They know it's from the Kroger pay cart.
That
boggles my mind. I believe like direct deposit, don't worry about it.
Right.
Now there's a pay cart.
There's a pay cart. So, have fun, sweetie.
See ya.
Where are you going?
Oh, she's going on a bachelor party. Jesus
I'm
Christ.
like, dang.
Bachelorette party. It's going to be a shit show.
When I got here, she was all like, PJs just woke up. Now she's like all dolled up, going out on the town.
Yeah, she's going.
Have a good time.
Have fun. Love you. Bye.
What are you doing, Diesel?
Back up, Diesel. Back up. Back.
Come on,
Back.
Diesel.
Back. All right. Go lay down.
She's
All
going
right.
to have a good time, and you're going to be here with your gimpy leg and
With
sore
my
back.
gimpy leg, sore back, and the kids.
Well, good thing you got lots of bourbon. Oh,
Yes.
yeah, I didn't even think about her not taking the kids.
No.
Lock them in their room.
Here's your iPads.
Make them learn about Pretty Boy Floyd.
Leave me alone. Get your learn on.
Get your
So-
work on.
They find out that it's him. They learn that it's him. He does 3.5 years of hard time.
Yeah, we talked about that. Jail back then
Was not what it is today. Like he
no-
was
nobody
literally
gave a crap back then about your rights
yeah,
or what
it-
you were eating or
it
how you were
was
sleeping.
he did he slept on a 2-inch thick mat on the floor. He was chained to like 15 other guys along a line on a chain gang. He was breaking
Old school.
rocks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Hard
time. Like no one gave a shit about how you felt.
Don't care
If
about
you
your
needed
feelings.
water, your feelings, throw that shit out the door. And it's the way that things should be today. You go to prison, you lose all your rights. That's
Yeah, he definitely didn't have rights.
he did not have zero rights.
So
had
this
zero.
okay. So he got caught for robbing the Kroger in
got-
1925.
Yep.
So he would have been 21.
Yep.
Straight to jail. 21.
Straight to jail at 21.
What jail was that at? Was that in?
That was in I want to say
Missouri?
St. Louis, or it was in the
think it
middle of
was
St.
Missouri.
Louis. Yeah, it was St. Louis. So he straight to jail. But while he's there for those 3.5 years, he doesn't try to better himself in reading books and like going to school and do the other stuff. He talks to other prisoners about how to commit crime, how to rob banks, how to be better at robbing banks.
Yeah,
So
I feel like I feel like there's some irony in a bunch of people sitting in prison where they obviously all of them have got caught trying to tell each other how to better themselves at committing crime.
Well, this is what I did, and here's what I should have done.
That's fair. I've
So
not been a criminal like that. Not since I stole an eyeball keychain at like 12 or 13 or however old I was.
yeah, from the GameStop or the electronics boutique.
No, what
back then.
What store was it? It was one of those old, not like Hot Topic.
Well,
or anything, one of those kitschy
GameStop
stores.
turned into electronics, or electronics boutique turned into GameStop.
You okay over there?
No, I'm having a
Sound
stroke.
like you're having a seizure.
I might be.
All right,
so he
he's
did
in jail for 3.5 of his 5 years.
Yep, and while he's there, there's a part that we missed that I glossed over. I didn't even gloss over. I didn't even mention it. He has a kid, and he has a wife.
Yeah.
So
Before he went to jail.
Yep.
Not in jail.
before he went to jail, he got married, and he had a wife named Ruby. And I believe his son's name was David.
Charles Dempsey Floyd.
Charles Dempsey. So Charles II.
Right.
So Ruby and Charles.
Well, not the second. Different
Well-
middle names. But
Well,
named
Dempsey
after him.
Dempsey is the married name of who Ruby gets married to after Charles.
Oh, okay.
After Pretty Boy Floyd.
Gotcha.
So Ruby files for divorce from Charles while he's in jail. So they get a divorce while he's incarcerated doing hard time. But she is also pregnant or has a child named Charles at this particular moment. So they split, boom, done. They're away.
Okay.
Ruby also gets married to a guy with the last name of Dempsey
Gotcha.
while he's in jail.
So he did 3.5 years and got paroled.
He got 3.5 years. He gets out. Done. And At this point, Charles gets out, and he's at a bar in St. Louis, and he gets the name Pretty Boy by a woman who walks up, sets a beer in front of him, and says, "What's your name, Pretty Boy? What's your name, Pretty Boy?"
Talk dirty to me.
And she sets a beer in front of him, and that's how he gets the name Pretty Boy. So Charles Pretty Boy Floyd.
And they said that he was known for being well dressed.
He was always
wore
well
a white
dressed.
button-up shirt and slacks to work in oil fields.
Silk.
Like
Undershirts.
He was all about. This is like with Bonnie and Clyde. They were very much all about the appearance.
Yeah.
You dress up to go to work,
and they
would
always
commit
killed
crimes
some.
while wearing their
So
vest.
Bonnie and Clyde, whenever they robbed, they always killed. Pretty Boy Floyd.
We'll get into all this.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're kind of skipping ahead.
Yeah, we're jumping way ahead. So that's how he got his name, Pretty Boy. It just kind of stuck after this woman came up, set down a beer in front of him, and said, "What's your name, Pretty Boy?"
And everybody called him Pretty Boy.
And everybody
it was
at this
kind of one of those terms back then that it was.
It's
kind
not
of like we say hipster now or
Yeah.
millennial, or you see a guy dressed a certain way with a man bun and all this. People coin it term. Pretty Boy was one of those, like, he was kind of always dressed up, kind of douchey looking. It was kind of like I feel like it was kind
what
of
we would consider douchey looking
Right.
today.
But they use Pretty Boy as a term that would describe somebody that was just very well groomed, well manicured, dapper. Yes,
Dapper is a good term.
Yeah, it says, according to one account, the payroll master who Floyd robbed described him as a pretty boy with apple cheeks.
Yeah. I mean, he was...
And it said that Floyd actually despised the nickname.
Yeah.
It was according to some accounts.
Well.
It's kind of like Babyface Nelson.
Yeah.
George Nelson hated his nickname.
Well, you look like you're...
Grow a
20
beard,
years,
dude.
Grow a beard.
I'm telling you, nobody calls you Babyface with a beard. Because you're going to punch him with an axe.
But that wasn't the thing back then.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump ahead. So we went 1925. We're going to jump to 1930. Pretty Boy Floyd commits a crime. He's on a train. He's coming from wherever, but he jumps this train in Ohio.
Okay.
He is under guard watch. So it's a patrolled train. He eludes his guards, kicks out a window, and jumps off this train into the Ohio wilderness. So this isn't the first time he's in Ohio.
Right.
So he jumps the train. We don't know what happens between now and when he gets back to Arkansas, where he takes up residence, gets back with Ruby and his son Charles.
Okay.
So there's this whole huge gap in 1930. We don't know what happens.
Yeah, there's a few things. There's like some minor things in 29 and 30. Was like minor robberies.
Right.
Some vagrancy, and he's got a little fines here, a couple slaps on the wrist. But nothing major.
So between 1930 and 1932, we have no idea what happens right now. But I can kind of, from what I've been told,
Family stories,
things like that. So he jumps this train in Ohio. Oh, there's train tracks that run right through Wellsville. He jumps a train. We don't know where he jumps
there's still
this
tracks
train.
that run through most small towns in Ohio.
Right, and it's
Even
right
today.
along the river. So he jumps a train. I'm going to go ahead and assume somewhere along the lines he jumps this train in the Ohio wilderness, makes his way down to Wellsville at some point because he travels through Wellsville later on where it's well known that's where he's killed.
Yeah.
He meets up with my great-grandfather Miller. They become friends. He hides him out for a little bit.
So he's probably laying low there for a while.
He lays low.
He got out of jail.
He
got a few
escapes.
slaps on the wrist.
He escapes a train
And then he escaped the train.
Right.
So where he was headed back for a hard time.
Right.
And he said, no.
He's like, nah, we're not doing that.
He said,
ho. So we're going to speculate.
As we do.
So, and I don't know, maybe I'll get some more answers here later on in August. I can.
You got a family reunion?
I do. I have a family reunion coming up
Nice.
that I'm going to try to make it to. So he kicks the train in Ohio. Eventually he gets from Ohio back to Kansas City, where we get to the Kansas City massacre of Nash. So what happens with Nash is, and that is, he took up residence. Jump back. He took up residence in Portsmouth, Arkansas, under the name of Jack Hamilton as a traveling salesman.
Smart.
So,
Gotta give the fake name.
Use the fake name. No one knows who he is. His picture's not really out there. Great.
Yeah, I mean, he was a guy that was arrested, did his time. And back then, too, it's not like they had Facebook.
No. They
like
didn't
to spread news. News took time to get around
it took a little
country. While. A town or a county, word can travel fast because everybody's not sitting in their house ignoring their neighbors. They're all out talking and socializing. But for it to get cross-country...
It took a little bit.
Yeah, and it took a lot. I feel like back then a lot of crime happened. Like even people say today, man, the world's going to crap. Nah, we just see it.
We
hear
it more.
about it because if something happens in California, when there's a shooting, when there is a explosion, when there's a hailstorm, whatever it is, a tsunami, we know about it as it's happening in most instances.
Right.
When Katrina happened, we could watch it happen live online.
Right.
Back then, that stuff was still happening. Like, people were all the time like, back to the good old days. I'm like, no, you just didn't know what was happening in Ontario when you lived in Ohio in 1904.
Right.
You didn't know what was happening in Texas. You know, so it's like, I feel like there are so many crimes that Pretty Boy Floyd's crimes that he's committed to this point. He hasn't killed anybody at this point, right?
Nope.
So he's
robbed banks.
He's a thief.
He's a thief.
There's no reason that people in Arkansas would know his face.
No, he's just robbed a couple banks.
Because there's tons of thieves. You're going through the Great Depression. This stuff's happening everywhere.
Right.
So really, he's kind of a run-of-the-mill thief at this point, as far as Arkansas is concerned.
Right. He doesn't do anything. It's illegal. Don't rob a bank, obviously.
Right.
But he hasn't killed him. He's
not
done
gunning
anything.
people down. He's not blowing stuff up.
There's no execution style gunning.
Right.
He's not walking into banks and shooting.
So it's easy for him in Arkansas to say, "Hey, I'm a traveling salesman."
Right. So he gets to Arkansas. Hey, I'm a salesman. But then what happens is he robs a couple banks from Tulsa, and some shit kind of goes sideways.
Okay.
Because about the same time that happens, there is the Kansas City massacre that goes on. So Tulsa, Oklahoma is not too far from Kansas City, Oklahoma.
Which is weird that Kansas City is in Oklahoma.
Right.
But...
So, and what's his name? Nash. Where's it at? Nash. Kelly Nash. No. Nope. Wrong one. Losing my place.
Frank Nash.
Not Frank. The hell's his name? Irv Kelly was a bounty hunter. We're looking for... Oh, shit. I lost my place. Irv Kelly.
Floyd admittedly denied his involvement in the fiasco. Apparently, a botched attempt to free bank robber Frank Nash.
Frank Nash. There we go. Yeah, so Frank Nash. That just didn't sound right. So Frank Nash. Frank Nash gets shot in a massacre. Like, a hail of gunfire happens in Kansas City, Oklahoma, and
4 law enforcement officers died.
Right. 4, and Floyd and Adam Rachetti are the primary suspects of this.
Yeah. J. Edgar Hoover,
who is the founder of the FBI.
Basically, get him.
Yeah.
Get Floyd.
Hoover is the founder of the FBI. He's the one who essentially ends up creating the FBI.
To this day, everybody doesn't even know whether he's involved. Those closest to Floyd say he wasn't even near it.
Well, if he's in Tulsa,
he
can't be near it.
Right.
If he's doing a bank robbery over here and shit's happening over here. So it's more of a scapegoat.
And they're saying there was a guy that resembled Floyd there, named Saul Weissman, but it wasn't Pretty Boy Floyd.
Right.
He wasn't even in town.
And what we watched in the 4-part documentary was politicians that mentioned that it came up there were politicians that actually put the hit out on Frank Nash. So it wasn't Floyd. So at this point, Floyd is not involved in this. He is at all.
Right.
And today is cleared of the charges on the hit against Frank Nash.
Right, because now they know the true story.
So, smash cut to 1932. So we go to 1932. Charles, Pretty Boy Floyd, him and his wife go, and the kid, and Charles Dempsey, Floyd, they all go up to a farm where they're supposed to meet a contact, who is Irv Kelly, who is the first person that Charles Floyd kills. And it is in self-defense.
Yes.
And that is what it comes down to. So what happens is they meet Irv Kelly on a farm, and he pulls out a Tommy gun, essentially a fully automatic Tommy gun, Thompson machine gun.
And it starts just unloading.
And starts unloading. Well, Floyd gets hit 4 times, but he pulls out his 9mm.
I thought it was a 45.
Or maybe it was a 45.
Pretty sure it's 45.
Okay,
but either
45.
Way, pulls out a 45 pistol,
and shoots.
Guns down.
Irv Kelly.
And
that is the
Thompson
only
machine gun.
Right. And
that's
at this
pretty
point,
BA right there.
That's
for you to be getting shot out with a Thompson machine gun, pull out a 45
and shoot your assault,
shoot back and kill him. That's pretty BA. So that's the first time he killed, and it's been shown that it's in self-defense.
It was in self-defense.
Irv Kelly opened fire first.
Right. And from what we've seen, or what we watched, what we've been told when we listened to the family members on the documentary, it weighed on him heavily. Like, it bothered him to no end, that the fact that he had to shoot this guy. Like,
had to live.
He had to live. Like, it was, and then later on, it came into a complete self-defense scenario. Because the newspaper headline said, Irv Kelly, bounty hunter, gunned down by Pretty Boy Floyd.
Right.
But then later on, it was, after recounts of the situation, it was all self-defense.
Right. After they made it like front page, big headline, Pretty Boy's killing people, then they're like, oh.
No.
He got shot at first.
Sorry.
Right.
Sorry.
And
so
that's the thing with Pretty Boy. He didn't want to hurt others. He didn't want to be a killer. He just hated being poor and did not want to pick cotton his whole life for nothing.
Right.
Like, he saw his family destitute, basically, through the Great Depression. He said, nah, I'm going a different route. So he turned to a life of crime.
Right. So, and then in other situations, like at one point, he had told his grandfather, he's like, hey, I'm going to rob this bank on this day.
Yeah.
He's like, go stand across the street at this train station.
Yeah,
at the train station.
Yeah, train station.
I'm going to rob this bank.
And you can watch it go down and see how I do it.
You can watch it go down and see how I do it. And he does it. He robs the bank. He gets out. No cops show up. He escapes. Nothing happens.
The money. Yep.
Gets the money.
Nobody's killed. Not a shot was fired.
No one killed.
No incident. He stole money, which is wrong.
And he goes, Grandpa, did you see that? And he's like, nah, I overslept.
Grandpa decided to take a nap that day.
He's like, I didn't see it.
Didn't see what you did. Took a nap.
He's like, sorry about your luck. My bad.
Typical grandpa stuff. That's like dad mode. My thing with Pretty Boy that I like, I mean, obviously he's a bank robber and he's a thief. Up to this point, he's only killed in self-defense, so I do not call him a cold-blooded murderer.
Well,
but the public kind of liked him because they saw he was not harming people. He was taking from the rich to give to the poor.
Well, and he was doing other things on top of that. He would go into banks and he would see deeds.
Right.
And he would tear them up.
That people couldn't pay. Because banks are trying to take these farms from hardworking Americans.
Right. He would tear up the
their
deeds. He would burn the deeds. He would get rid of. He would make the deeds disappear so that the bank couldn't collect on these deeds anymore.
They had no proof that they owned.
Right.
Were owed money for whatever property.
He was literally a Robin Hood of the modern times.
The common man loved him.
Right.
Obviously, the banks and the law did not.
Well, and he was always giving away money as well. So he would rob from the banks and then turn around and give away the money.
Yeah, he'd
the locals.
See somebody hurt and then just say, "Hey, here's $20." Which
here's
back
$20.
Then, that's
I mean, that's $100, $200
that's
now.
a lot of money.
I mean, that's a lot of money back
I'm going
then.
to Google how much because now I'm curious.
Yeah. So, after the Kansas City massacre, Charles reconnects with an ex-girlfriend, Rose. An ex-girlfriend, Beulah, Rose.
What a name.
Right. And Adam.
Beulah.
Adam Rachetti. They all escape out to Buffalo, New York and kind of hang out for a bit, for about a year. And then they start making their way back to the St. Louis area. And your reaction, what is $20 worth?
Hold on, that's in 2017. I'm going to put in 2019.
No, yeah, 2019.
How much do you think $20 in 1922 is worth in today's money?
I would have to say like $300.
$304.93. He would hand somebody that's hurting $20.
Yeah.
And it would change their life.
It would change their life. Absolutely.
That is insane.
That's a lot of money back then. I mean, he stole $300 worth of pennies. Or $350 worth of pennies back then. That's a lot of friggin' money. So they went out to Buffalo. They hung out for about a year. Kind of like, yeah, we're just going to chill. But they got cabin fever.
Well, yeah.
I mean, they stayed inside the entire time.
Yeah, well, staying inside on one property is not what these people did. I mean, you're talking about people that grew up working out in the fields. That grew up outside. That grew up active. So it's not in their DNA to just sit still for very long.
No. And so on their way back, they had a small accident outside of East Liverpool, Wellsville. Which
here in
is
good old Ohio.
Here in Ohio, which is the area that I'm from.
Right.
So, and then again, back to, like talking about my great-grandfather, knowing Pretty Boy Floyd.
Right.
And
playing some poker.
Playing poker in the basement.
Strip poker.
Yeah.
They used to get so dirty down there, smoking
dirty.
big old fat cigars and drinking whiskey.
And that's not to say that he wasn't. He traveled back and forth to Ohio. He did. There's a lot that we're missing here.
You got a pretty face.
You got
boy.
you're pretty face, boy. So they're on their way back. They have a small accident outside of East Liverpool, and they send the girls, Rose and Beulah, back into East Liverpool to get the car fixed. So
small
it's just
accident in his pants. He had a boo-boo.
Yeah, he had a boo-boo.
He ate too much White Castle and Taco Bell the previous day. And in the 1930s, their digestive tracts were not ready for that.
No, definitely not ready for some Taco Bell.
In his underwear.
Or White Castle. So
sorry, I haven't laughed yet this episode because I'm so into it. So I was like, I have to say something stupid.
So
he crapped his pants.
So he shit his pants. They send the girls back.
Reupholstered because I have ruined the seat in this car.
I need a new plaid seat. So they send the girls back. Adam and Charles, they keep their guns. They take some blankets and they go sit on a hillside.
Right.
The
Chilling
cops
out,
realize
relaxing, all cool.
The cops are driving by. They realize something's not right. They kind of investigate, and they shoot Adam in the leg, and he confesses to everything.
I like
Snitches get stitches.
I like how you just went, they investigate, they shot him in the leg, he confessed.
I mean, they got up.
There's got to be more that happened in between all that. Hey, there's two guys on the hill.
There's two
Shoot
guys
one
on the
of the
hill
legs,
sitting
see if
under
they
a
know
blanket.
anything about any crimes
Right.
or anything.
There's two guys sitting on a blanket on a hill. What's up with that?
And then years later,
they're
somebody
running.
made a movie called Brokeback Mountain, and
Right.
here we are.
So, two guys sitting on the side of a hill. They get up and run.
Two dudes
Shoot
chilling
one
in
of
a
them.
hot tub 5 feet apart because they're not gay.
Yeah, they shot Adam in the leg. He confesses to everything.
Yeah, he spills the beans.
He spills the beans.
Here's who I am. Here's who I'm with. Here's what we've done.
Right. So, Floyd gets away. He hides in the woods for a while. He's kind of disheveled. He knocks on a woman's house.
Have you ever been in the deep, deep woods alone?
It's scary.
Like hiking, like deep out there to where if you get lost, you can't find your way back and you're alone.
Well, not that deep.
With no cell reception, because I have been.
I haven't been fat guy in the woods.
Hunting. No, not that. Fat guys in the woods, we always had cameramen, and I didn't know it, but had a former Navy SEAL security guy since we're so close to the border. Didn't know that till the last day.
Well, no.
But, no, just hunting down in West Virginia where you go, there's no cell reception at all.
Well, in the
And when we go
1980s,
hunt-
there were no cell reception.
Right. So when we go hunt, we split up often. And there's been a few times that I'm like, is the trail still over there? Like, let me go peek real quick because it gets sketchy. Everything starts to look the same once you get into deep woods by yourself.
Well,
You
where
think you
he's at,
crested
there's
one hill,
no
you're
trails.
on another hill. Right. That's what I'm saying. So he literally was just like, screw it, I'm out.
I'm out.
Because people were gunning him down.
And I have an idea of where he's at. Because me and
And here's the thing that kills me.
my
This
brother, in air quotes, have run around in this area through the woods. So,
And
because
my
he
thing is
lives
back then-
in that area.
The worst thing about being outside, the biggest killer isn't. The biggest killer in situations where you get lost in the wilderness is the elements. It's the weather, it's the temperature, it's the dehydration, it's stuff
Well,
like
this
that.
is in October.
So he's taking off right in the middle
And this
of
is
fall,
October when it
in
used to
Ohio.
snow in October.
right, with nothing, basically. And my thing is, the only person he's harmed is the guy he shot in self-defense.
Yep.
And these guys are gunning for him without question before they even ask questions.
Oh, yeah.
They shot his buddy
shoot
and
to
then
kill.
asked questions. And can you imagine if that happened this day and age? Because this day and age, they're like, why didn't you taser him? Why didn't you just handcuff him and all that? Like, they literally just climbed out of their cop car and started shooting.
Pew, pew, pew.
So, yeah, he kind of, while he is committing crimes, it just seems like a really uncharacteristic way.
Right.
Like, hey, that might be him. Let's just start shooting at him and see what happens. And they run. They're like, guilty. Well, yeah, I'm going to run if you're shooting at me.
Oh, hell
like,
yeah.
not fast. I'm going to waddle away.
Well,
I'm going to look like a fat penguin, but I'm still going to try.
I'm going to leave you behind. If we're sitting on the side of a hill under a blanket,
Oh, yeah.
people start shooting,
I'm the fat friend that can't move.
I'm gone. I'm out. And maybe that's what Adam was. Maybe Adam was the fat friend.
Fat friend.
So Adam was the fat friend. He got shot in the leg.
Pretty boy got away.
So Pretty Boy gets away. He stops at a woman's house, Kunkel. So he knocks on the door. He asks for a meal. He gives her some bullshit line about being out squirrel hunting in a
I
suit.
think it's pronounced Conkle.
Kunkel.
Conkle is cool uncle. Conkle. Like Conkle's Hollow.
Whatever. I went to school
But
with a
then again,
Kunkel,
everybody says,
and her name is Kunkel.
everybody says
Kunkel?
I say collar
Kunkel.
wrong too, so.
Well, that's all right. It's fine. I'm not going to judge you one way or another.
You can't.
I know,
We both
'cause-
butcher so many things. All right, so anyway.
I can't even say
He goes
fast,
to-
so say things fast.
So he goes to Conkle's farm
So he goes
here
to
in
Uncle's
Ohio.
farm here in Ohio, and he asks for a meal. She makes like this lavish meal, which is what they did back in the 1800s.
Well, yeah, you got a
early
stranger that comes in and
1900s.
says, I'm hungry.
I
You
would-
treat people great.
Right. I would make some ramen noodles and give him a hard-boiled egg.
You would tell him to get off your porch.
I would be like, get the fuck off my porch.
You'd be the one with the gun, like, go away.
I'm like, what's
It's
your name?
different times.
What are you doing here?
But back then,
I got the 38.
There was no internet. There was no cell phone. There was no stranger. There wasn't
there was the
the
stranger danger
boogeyman.
aspect.
Right, but it's like if somebody, it wasn't uncommon to walk up to a house and say, hey, I've been traveling for 2 days on the road.
Right.
I could really use a meal and just kind of wash my face and hands.
Right.
And people would take you in.
And people will take you in.
It was like Airbnb, but without the electronics and making reservations. Like, come in here, we'll give you a place to chill,
right.
get freshened up, give you some food.
Right.
So they went all out for their guests.
So yeah. So
And even though they were farmers too, she made
farmer to farmer,
a great meal.
essentially. So yeah, she makes him a great meal. He inquires about the car sitting outside, and she's
How
like,
cool
"Well,
were those cars too, man? Those
so
rum runners they used to run. The cars in the 40s are my favorite.
so
The
amazing."
business
Well, this
scoops.
is in the 20s.
Yeah, I want a business scoop from the 40s.
I mean, we're still in
Like
like the
pre-NASCAR
1920s at this point.
rum run.
1930s.
No, we're in the 30s.
We're in the 30s, but still.
Anyway, so he inquires about the car.
So he inquires about the car, and she's like, "Well, that's my brother's car," and he's like, "Can I take it to run into town?"
And he's like,
And they get blocked.
are you single?
Yeah, and he's
How
like,
you doing?
"How you doing, baby?"
How's about I get the car and
And
get
you
some
take
old
this dollar.
Pretty boy? What if you get little pretty boy?
And she's like,
Take
"Get
this
the-"
dollar.
She's
Take
like,
this $20.
"GTFO, I'm gonna give you $1."
He says, I'm going to give you a 20 that'll be worth $304
Well-
in 2019.
He only gives her $1,
Which back then,
which back then is
I'm getting on my inflation calendar.
still a lot of money. So he gives
Yeah.
her $1 for the meal, and he starts to back out. Well, the cops show up because they're going farm to farm or house to house, trying to figure out where they know he's in town
Right.
because Adam snitched.
Yeah.
So
Idiot.
they're going house to house. Adam snitched. They find him. He gets out. He runs across this a cornfield that's already been harvested. So there's only the stock sitting up. He doesn't run serpentine, but they bring in a guy named what's his name? Chester. Chester's a sharpshooter.
Chester Smith. Yeah.
Chester Smith, yeah. Chester Smith is a sharpshooter. He clips Floyd in the arm, in the right arm. He doesn't kill him dead. He clips him in the right arm, but depending on
deliberately wounded. 'Cause
deliberately
he didn't want to kill
wounded.
him.
Yep. He didn't want to kill him.
To
He just
maim
wanted to
him and take him in.
take him down. So depending on the story, you get from the FBI versus you get from the local cops. So if you talk to ELPD, East Liverpool Police Department, versus the Federal Bureau of Investigation, you get two different stories. The FBI says Chester killed him. ELPD, which is where Chester Smith was from, I winged him.
Mm-hmm.
I took him down.
Dropped him with 2 shots from my .32 Winchester rifle.
There you go. So, Chester, and we're going with Chester's story because it's better. Chester takes him down.
The alphabet.
Chester takes him down. They question him. He spits at him. Like, nah, fuck you. I ain't talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Then they just go ahead and execute him on sight. So Chester had to live with that.
Chester wounded him. Knew Purvis was going to hit him, one of the other officers. So Chester wounded him. Purvis said, I want to talk to him. Questioned Floyd after receiving curses in reply.
Curses and
Purvis
spits.
ordered Herman Hollis to fire, quote unquote, fire into him.
Yep.
Hollis then shot Floyd at point blank range with a submachine gun, killing him. Boom. Not just one shot to the head, like they just unloaded into him.
Yeah, they just unloaded into him.
So they asked, like the interview asked if there was a cover up by the FBI, and Smith said, sure was, because they didn't want it to get out that he'd been killed that way.
Right.
They killed him dirty.
So
they could have taken him into custody. Probably would have lived. He's already lived being shot before.
Right.
He got shot in the arm.
And we saw a testimony when we watched the documentary from the History Channel from all of his, like, his nephews, his son, about, and I mean, if you sit and watch this documentary, like, they all cry. They all, like, get kind of choked up. Like, when they talk about him, like, he could have lived. I mean, he could have lived all the way through the 90s. He definitely would have made it through the...
Yeah, I mean, depending on old age and everything.
But he would have made it through the 90s. He may be in jail.
1904, making the 90s, that'd still be a stretch.
It'd be a stretch.
Into the 80s, probably.
Into the 80s, but
providing everything, you didn't get cancer, none of that crap.
Well, still.
But he could have lived a long time
He
past
could have lived a long time past the age of 30.
Yeah.
And they just gunned him down in a field. So, outside of Wellsville. So we have a guy that killed one guy that they considered a mass murderer, who only robbed the banks, who was a Robin Hood of the modern times for the 1920s, who was tearing up deeds, saving people money from the politics of the time, who bankers were considered evil politicians, gunned down right in the middle of a cornfield.
Yep. On the Kunkel Farm.
On the Kunkel Farm in East Liverpool, Ohio. Or Wellsville, Ohio, depending on where you're at.
And the thing after that, so he got gunned down. One way or another, he got killed. We believe the tale of the people that were there, not the FBI.
Yeah, definitely not the FBI.
Local guys and the people that were there.
So
his body was embalmed briefly and viewed at the Sturgis Funeral Home, which is now...
Well, the Sturgis Home, it's just called the Sturgis Home now.
Right. It's no longer a funeral home, but it's still open and active and maintained.
It's open, it's active, it's maintained. It's in downtown East Liverpool. I have family out of town that when they come into town, that's where they stay. They stay at the Sturgis house. And that is where there's a sign outside.
It's like a bed and breakfast type thing, right?
Yeah, it's a B&B. That's where Pretty Boy Floyd was, that's where he was.
He wasn't killed, but that's where he was brought for the autopsy or whatever.
And they have some other things there, like some Pretty Boy Floyd memorabilia. At the City Hall, they have a small museum around, and when I say small, they have a case.
Like a 10-foot wide case.
Yeah, it's death mask and some other things, like potentially his gun and some other stuff.
Are kind of weird, aren't they?
They are. There's just a plaster mask.
We don't do that against it. Yeah, right. They just put plaster on a dead person's face multiple times and make several of them.
Yeah.
Because there's other places they have these. We saw. There's not just one.
No. They have several of them.
John Dillinger, I think there's a death mask for him.
I think they did it for all the OGs. All the original gangsters. Weird. And I ain't talking about Nelly being an original gangster. I'm talking about...
Nelly's not even a gangster now.
John Dillinger.
All he does is put a Band-Aid on his face and make a really hot album that I played a whole lot.
Al Capone. Snoop Dogg ain't getting a... Snoop Dogg is an original gangster.
I don't know, man. Snoop Dogg, I think
he's been around
I listen
a while,
a lot about the
but-
Tupac and Biggie deaths on podcasts. There's some things that I think Puff Daddy and definitely Suge Knight.
Well, Suge Knight's
and then Dre and what the thing I listened to it I didn't realize. So Tupac's thing, they did the hologram in 2012 of him on stage.
Yeah.
And Snoop Dogg came out. Snoop Dogg was deathly afraid of Tupac, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Like they beefed, right? But here's the thing: when he sang on stage with his hologram, they said he could not wait to go on stage, and he was shaking afterwards because he thought Tupac was going to run up on him because this whole Machiavelli thing that Tupac did right before he died.
Yeah, Machiavelli means rise from the dead.
So Tupac was supposedly, in 2012, supposed to turn like 45 or whatever the date was that the original Machiavelli came back.
Yeah.
And Snoop Dogg was like so high out of his mind and paranoid that Tupac was still alive and going to kill him on stage or backstage. So anyway, I was watching all that and I was like, look, gangster rap back in the 80s and 90s, way different than rap now. Rap now and hip hop is all about big booties and money and I'm better
big
than
booty
you.
Hoe,
Back then, it was like, here's the issues that we are living through. We don't have money. We literally have to kill to survive.
Right.
Like, those people are living it.
Right.
Now the rappers and the quote unquote rappers and hip hop artists are not living it. People like Dre, people like Tupac, Biggie, they lived it. So they're not OG in the original gangster style that these guys were, like Pretty Boy or Babyface, but they still it was more modern OG.
Yeah, it was so. But
so anyway, Pretty Boy Floyd dies. They put his body on public display.
Public display.
But here's the thing that got me: they covered him up to his neck.
To his neck.
The only thing you see was his head
Because they didn't want to see the gunshots.
That helps confirm the fact that the FBI at point blank unloaded on his chest with a fully automatic,
right,
or a submachine gun.
So yeah, right. And they did that at the,
they're saying they're denying that, and they're saying he tried to shoot back and this and that. But I'm like, if you did not unload into his body and just tear the torso apart, why would you make it to where because any funeral I've been to that's open casket, you see from the waist up.
Well, here's a video. I mean, we see a video right here.
We'll watch that afterwards.
I think they shot him in the back.
That's what it sounds like to me. He was running away and got shot in the back.
I think even when he was laying on the ground, I think they shot him in the back because we're looking at on the Wikipedia page. We're looking at a what would be a photo from the video clip. There's no gunshots in the chest,
right?
So I think they shot him in the back, which is a cowardice way to go.
I mean, yeah, if a guy's already shot on the ground, then you shoot him in the back, or somebody says fire into him. That's BS.
He's laying on the ground. He's like, fuck you guys.
Armed or not. If he's armed, he turns around, shoots, you shoot him in the chest because he's trying to fire at you.
That's a different story. But
I get that. But to shoot him in the back,
but
even back in the Wild West, they knew that was the wrong way to do it.
Right. But according to what Chester Smith is saying, he was down.
Yeah.
He doesn't have his gun with him. Like, he fell.
No, he was eating dinner. He ran out.
He's eating dinner. Shot. He ran out. He got shot. He doesn't have a gun on him. We're speculating. He got shot. He's down. They fire. He's laying on the ground because he's wounded.
You know what they needed?
They shot into his back.
The Conkle family needed some cell phones they could record video on and be yelling World Star.
Yeah.
And then we would know what really happened.
Like at least the iPhone 3.
Minimum. Yeah. Even
at least
Razors used to take videos.
480p.
480p. But yeah, so the thing for me, though, he was so loved by the public that his funeral,
when they shipped him back to Arkansas.
To Oklahoma.
Or, was it Oklahoma or Arkansas?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, yeah.
He was only briefly in Arkansas, and he only did a robbery and left there.
Right.
So he went back to Oklahoma.
He got back to Oklahoma.
His funeral was attended by, they say between 20 and 40,000 people. We saw where they said 30,000.
30,000 plus people.
It's still the largest funeral in Oklahoma history.
30,000 people showed up.
30,000 people back
All
then.
the florists ran out of flowers
the
in
parking
Oklahoma.
issues.
Oh, God, it would drive me insane.
I'm saying, let's say like you're not from Oklahoma, you're from Kansas, you're from Ohio, and you knew this. You drive your car that maxes out at 45 mile an hour all the way to Oklahoma. You get there and you park, and it's bigger than like Disney World parking lot, or like Kings Island or something. There's no like, hey, you're parked in Blue 5 or you're parked in Mickey Mouse 7, and a shuttle comes to get you. You're walking miles away. 30,000 people.
That's a lot of fucking
You're
people.
walking miles, probably.
That's so many people.
Insane. But that's how much the
for the
public loved
time.
him.
That's so many people.
It's just weird the way he was kind of gunned down, and they were like, "Yeah, just kill him."
Just off him.
It's just weird.
They could have easily just put a bullet in the back of his head.
They could have easily just handcuffed him.
Well, I'm talking about offing him, but they could have easily just let him live.
Yeah.
I mean
now if he did, which there's no evidence that he had a gun, but if he did roll over and try to shoot somebody, one, he's trying to live, so I get that, even though he's in the wrong.
he's
And
he's
two,
surrounded by police officers.
The police officers have every right, if he does roll over with the gun, to blow him away.
Right.
But if that's the case, they wouldn't be so ashamed and trying to hide it.
Even Chester, back in that 1984 interview, never mentioned him pulling a gun.
Right.
Ever.
So we have no reason to believe that he had a gun. Because if he did, he would have used it.
Well, yeah, I would
There's no
imagine
reason
he would have.
used it if he had it.
He used it on Irv Kelly, and he got
Right.
shot 4 times.
So as far as the facts say, the only person that Babyface Nelson, or not Babyface Nelson,
Pretty Boy
Floyd
killed
ever
was Irv Kelly.
Was Irv Kelly in self-defense.
But he was considered a mass murderer.
That's really weird.
Right?
It's that, it takes me back to that old saying, to the victor go the spoils. In history, everything I learned in school, now that I'm out of school, now that technology has grown to what it is, I'm learning stuff that I was taught in elementary, middle school, and high school. A lot of it's just plain
bullshit.
Fallacy.
Right.
Because the people that win the war tell the story. And they always want to make themselves look like heroes. Had Hitler won the war, Hitler
We'd be
would be
speaking
revered
German
as somebody great, and because he would only show that he did the right thing. He wouldn't say that he screwed everything up.
Schnein.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like to the victor go the spoils. It's literally this kind of case with this that, well, he's dead, so you can't get his account on it.
Right.
Had he lived, he could have said, "Yo, I was unarmed. I did rob some banks,
but that would get buried.
I did tear up some mortgages." You know,
right? But that would all get buried under everything else.
Crazy, man.
I mean, as
which brings us to our final point: don't trust the government.
There you go.
That was a great episode of good content where we researched and told you all of this to say the government sucks.
The government's awful.
But yeah, there's obviously a lot more to the story. We tried to wrap it up in one episode. We probably could have done 2 episodes on this if we really wanted to stretch it out.
If we wanted to stretch this
maybe
out.
more.
I mean,
but this was the guy that was...
He was public enemy number 1.
Your great-grandpa knew.
That
Grandpa or great-grandpa?
Great-grandpa, supposedly. I'm going to go with supposedly because this is something that my mother told me, but I can't at this point...
You can't verify it.
I can't verify it because my grandmother's passed away, my mom passed away, and my great-grandmother's passed away.
I mean, unless your lineage was full of a bunch of liars that just wanted to tell a story.
That may be the case.
It may be the case, but it's like... Knowing you, haven't met your sister, like you're decent people, I can't see why they would make that big of a story up.
Who knows?
I mean, like when I moved to Circleville in 7th grade,
I have an uncle named Floyd,
right? Who's supposedly named after
Pretty Boy
Charles
Floyd.
Pretty Boy Floyd.
His name is Floyd. He has also passed away.
So,
but it is one of those things that it's like we were talking about before we started the show. Did we want to do H.H. Holmes? And I'm like, well, let's do Pretty Boy Floyd. And we just,
we did some research.
We did some research on it.
I finally had a Saturday where I did not have to rush out of here.
And I'm sitting here watching, we're sitting here watching these documentaries, and I'm like, just thinking about it. I'm like, I know they're not going to mention my grandfather in any of this stuff because it was just a guy that he played poker with.
Well, here's the thing, though.
From what I've been told.
Think of Pretty Boy Floyd, Babyface Nelson,
Al Capone,
John Wayne Gacy, H.H. Holmes,
all these
Bell Gunnis,
John Dillinger,
all these, Wyatt Earp, good guys, bad guys, and all this. How many people did they interact with through a lifetime? How many people have you interacted with on a lifetime from everywhere from opening the door for a stranger to being good friends with somebody? Right. They probably, like Pretty Boy traveled, he probably encountered a ton of people. I would say it's very plausible.
I'm sure he had safe houses
great-grandpa
from here to Buffalo.
May have known him and may have played poker with him.
Right.
So
Well,
there's no reason I can't think of a reason why your entire lineage would lie about it.
And I get that.
Could they have? Yeah,
Yes.
but here's the thing. If your mom said something you know is complete bullcrap out of the blue, or your sister, because she's still alive, right?
Yeah.
So your
Well,
sister
I
says,
hope so.
hey,
I haven't talked
I
to her in
played
a couple
poker
days.
with, I'm trying to think of it,
Well,
Charles Manson. Charles
so-
Manson's still alive. He's in jail, but he's alive.
Well, that's the other thing. My sister, so my nephew is friends or knows the son of one of the kids from, it just slipped my mind. Shit. It's an older band, and this isn't going to make for a great show.
We had a good show. You're killing it.
I know.
You're
I
killing
know,
it, Martell.
God damn
Green
it.
Day.
No, Oates.
Five for Fighting.
Oates.
Hall & Oates?
Hall & Oates.
Oh, okay.
So he is friends with one of the kids from Hall & Oates.
Of
Darren Oates.
Daryl? Yeah, it's Daryl, I think.
Yeah,
So,
he
like,
lives
I'm
in the
guessing one of
same.
his.
He lives in the same subdivision. My
Well,
sister
I had
does.
an uncle that used to live in the same exact neighborhood
So-
as Chuck Norris.
Really?
Never met him,
Well,
but lived in the same gated community in Texas.
but Alexander goes to school with this kid, and they know each other. And
that kid's dad or uncle
is
Daryl Oates or
Daryl
whatever.
Oates. Yeah, the kid's dad
I mean,
is Daryl Oates.
that's the thing.
So it's one of
very
those-
plausible that your great grandpa did play poker with him. Is what I'm saying. I
Right.
believe you because you've always been honest with me. You're like, I suck at this. I know this. I don't know this. You're not one of those guys that just spins yarn for fun.
Well, no, but I haven't had anybody who's been able to verify this.
I don't know if you could. I don't know if you ever will.
And I probably never will be able to. But
No, it's just one of those things. But here's the thing, too. Stories like this from pre-internet times and pre-TV times even, that's how stories got passed down. That's lore.
right,
There are stories from the Civil War. There are stories from the Old West, Wyatt Earp, and all these great gunslingers and all these.
well,
we
Jesse
talked about
James, who
Billy
makes
the
the
Kid.
bicycles, the
Right.
motorcycles, he says he's a direct descendant of
The
Jesse James. The Jesse
the
James.
Wild West gunslinger.
But no one
There's
has
like you said, John Dillinger. All of that has been passed down through stories.
right. But has anybody gone out to verify that Jesse James, who creates motorcycles, is a direct descendant of
I don't
Jesse
know.
James?
Maybe he should do 23andMe and spit in a vial and send it off.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things.
I mean, my wife is apparently related somehow to the guy that made corrugated cardboard. As exciting as that is. It was like there was cardboard before, which if you picture like a cereal box, just like one flat piece of cardboard, he took the cardboard,
he put the pattern in it.
made the little pattern and another piece on top,
It made it
and
stronger.
made it corrugated cardboard, so it's better. It's more protective. I don't know who that guy is. That's just something that she's told me. And somehow she's some distant, like way, way distant, kind of like I'm Native American. She's somehow related to Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
They found out or something, but it's like so diluted. It's plausible.
I mean, it's, yeah.
it could happen.
So, and
But I would say your great grandpa playing poker with Pretty Boy.
it's not unheard of.
No, I would say that's very feasible.
So-
Either way, whether he did or didn't, and your story's really cool or full of crap, is irrelevant to the story.
Right.
Pretty Boy lived I would say a very too short a life.
Absolutely.
He got gunned down way too early.
I mean,
and,
we're both older than what he was.
yeah, I'm
when he died.
36.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
97.
39.
Wow, you're old.
I'm close to 97.
You're almost 40.
I know, right?
Dude, we're going to have your birthday on an episode. Your 40th birthday. I'm
maybe.
taking my pants off.
Let's
Not
see.
because of that. I just want my pants off. When do you turn 40? You're June like me, aren't you?
June.
That's July.
right there. My birthday's on a
You're
Wednesday
looking at-
next year.
No, you're looking at July.
That's July. Never mind.
You're a dumb.
I know. I'm a dumb.
No.
Oh, my birthday's on a Monday next year.
Yeah, mine's on Thursday.
So, all right. If you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, or anything to add,
Or if you disagree with what we've
or
studied.
yeah, if you disagreed with what we
'Cause
said about
did,
Pretty
we
Boy,
actually did research for once.
We actually-
tried.
we watched the documentary. Two of
We
them.
should get a trophy for trying. We participated.
A participation award.
We watched a long documentary.
Yeah, it was 4 parts.
5.
Oh, 5 parts. That's right. It was 5
parts.
parts. And then we watched another 10 minutes on top of that, which was garbage.
Yeah, that was complete trash.
That was off.
Some ghost hunter bullcrap.
Bullshit. I was pissed about that. I was so mad about
excited.
that.
It says East Liverpool. And
Like it says East Liverpool, and it was ghost hunters.
some
Bullshit.
But it wasn't just ghost hunters, dude. That was East Liverpool white trash ghost hunters.
We sat outside on October 22nd.
They said the 75th
day,
anniversary to the day of his death on this property.
on the
They were
spot
allowed
that
to
he
sit out
died.
there. And then the next slide's like, nothing happened.
Nothing happened. What'd you expect to happen, you dumb shit?
They went out there with like a voltmeter and
Stupid
like
asses.
a tape measure. So
Anyway.
dumb, man. That was the worst ghost hunting I've ever
It
seen.
was so dumb.
I believe there are spirits that exist. I think the ghost hunting stuff's a lot of malarkey.
most of
For
it.
the most of it, like the orbs and pictures, and
Like we'll
There's
get
stuff
into
that
another
goes on.
episode about like ghost hunting and stuff like
and the
that.
occult
but, like,
and all that. Yeah, we should do an episode on that.
But that whole thing was bullshit. Anyway, check us out
funny.
on Facebook, Instagram, and the Twitters,
Insta Google Tweetstagram.
and
on
send
Facebook.
us an email. Email.
E-meal.
What is
I
wrong
would
with
take
my
an
mouth?
E-meal.
I will take.
I'm so hungry now.
He's hungry.
It's 2 p.m. and I've not eaten yet.
I want
today.
an email at buckhornpodcast@gmail.com, and we will talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Pinkies up.